Hi, I'm John Mallows. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Tuesday morning. Glad you're here. We have the new president of the Fresno Police Officers Association on our show today. 436-ME-TV option 11. A whole range of topics to cover on this Tuesday morning. Call in, weigh in, Connect with me starts right now.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Back here on the program on a Tuesday morning. Glad you're here. We're on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. As always, my friends, a very interesting show ahead on this day. You can call in and weigh in. 436-ME-TV option 11. A first-time guest. I'm glad he's here because we have a whole lot to talk about. In the meantime, you're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375 as usual. And it's Comcast Cable 43.6, 13.1 over-the-air broadcast. If you don't have cable TV, that's with a digital television antenna. The replay comes up over the air broadcast as well. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. After that, my friends, you can get on either YouTube or go to the Ventura TV webpage, and then you can connect right in through to our Connect with Me webpage, and you can watch this show or any show that you like of your particular choosing. For the rest of this week, a very interesting week. Tomorrow we have somebody in talking about Temperance Flat Dam. Not built yet, but they want to build it. It sure would store a lot of water here in the Central Valley. We'll talk to some folks about that tomorrow. On Thursday, we'll talk about love and marriage with our guy Peter Nazaridian. And then on Friday, we'll talk about what's going on as we approach NFL week number 4. About, should you take a knee? Should you sit? Should you not even show up for the national anthem like the Pittsburgh Steelers did last Sunday? Still a hot topic of conversation, whether or not to salute the flag prior to any NFL game after the comments made by the president last Friday. So we'll have kind of a pro-con situation on Friday. So that show is coming up. You may not want to miss that one. As for now, we're going to talk about the Fresno Police Department. As we all know, the city of Fresno is the 5th largest city right here in the state of California, the entire state, right? But if you look at the homicide rates, you look at the crime, the violent crime, you might say, they have as much crime as, say, the Bay Area, maybe Oakland, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Fresno is a very, very busy place if you're a Fresno police officer. Those are the words of Damon Kurtz. He's the brand new president of the Fresno Police Officers Association. I want to roll the videotape and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Take you back to last year when Donald Trump, then candidate, paid a visit to Fresno, Sullivan Arena. The Fresno Police Department drew that line right there. They wore some riot gear, but Kurtz believes that members of the Fresno PD should be paid accordingly. Now, 2 months ago, the city gave the police a 2-year contract with an 8% raise across the board. For new-time officers, for veterans, that's all across the board for every officer. That means the starting pay for a new officer is roughly $55,000 a year, plus benefits and retirement. If you're a veteran, you could be making just shy of $90,000 or $100,000. But on average, that's about 20% less than what Clovis police officers make. That, according to Kurtz, it's a very real issue for both the rank and file and the city that they protect. But there are other issues facing Fresno PD besides salaries. There is a huge infrastructure problem, meaning headquarters in downtown Fresno, located inside a building that is aging, run down, and full of asbestos. A radio system they share with the fire department needs a $30 million fix. Vehicles that have over 200,000 miles on them need replacing. Motorbikes as well. Then there is crime to worry about with gangs, homicide, other violent crimes, and there are chances of police corruption at this time when a new police auditor was just hired. Live in our studio right now is Damon Kurtz. He is here because he wants to talk about all of the above and much more. That's part of his job as the president of the Police Officers Association, is to deal with these ongoing issues head on, dealing with the city, dealing with the rank and file. It is not an easy job. For the life of me, I don't know why anybody would want it. It's not a tough job. It's the position once held by Jackie Parks. He was a guest here many times before, a good friend of this program's as well. 436-MeTV option 11. Do call in, do weigh in. A lot to talk about on this day.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
Back here in the program, let's not waste time. Damon Kurtz is the new president of the Police Officers Association. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you. Let's start by we're going to talk about the salaries and all the rest. But how did you fall into this position? Did you go after it? Did you want it? Did you get voted in by the rank and file? And explain what your position is. What is your job as the president of the FPOA?
So my position is an elected position. We're elected by the members of the police department, the FPOA members, if you will, which are the rank and file. We represent everyone from the brand new officer up to the deputy chief, and including the chief of police, although he negotiates for his own contract.
What are your day-to-day duties? What do you do?
Anything from meeting with city council members, the mayor, members of the department staff. There are meet and confer issues, working condition issues, new policies, procedures. It could be meeting with our state legislators on law enforcement related items. We're pretty much all over the place, just like being here today.
Trying to get your message out, right?
A message out. In a sense, we're the advocate for the men and women of the police department, but also for law enforcement. We're advocates and lobbyists, if you will, for that. So
you're kind of the lobbyist for the rank and file, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so you they express their concerns to you, and then you relay them to, say, the mayor and the council?
Yes. So we have a full board that's elected as well with directors, and then we have a president, vice president, second vice president. So we have a number of members who are elected by the membership to represent them and we have monthly meetings and a lot of impromptu meetings where we bring up issues that come up on a daily basis.
Yeah. What are the issues that come up on a daily basis that are? What's the biggest concern for the rank and file? I know you probably hear complaints daily. I don't know what those complaints are. Maybe you can say, maybe you can't. But what's the biggest concern out there? Those people that are patrolling and keeping our communities safe.
Yeah, probably staffing and equipment issues are probably the number one issues, right? So staffing, because you want enough officers to handle the calls, to be able to be responsive, but also to be able to do it in a safe manner, right? Their safety is important to them. Yeah. And then the equipment kind of goes right in line with that, right? So if you're driving around in a car that's 200,000+ miles, it lays to a work environment that's not so positive, right? When I ask people, would you put your family in a car over 200,000 miles and feel like they're safe? Yet we expect our officers to spend a 10-hour shift and possibly get in high-speed pursuit in one. It's not very safe.
Yeah. What's the response, generally speaking, from, I know the chief backs you, but what's the response from, say, the politicians that have to manage the money, guys like the mayor, the council people?
Well, I think they're responsive. I think they want to do more. I don't believe there's a desire from the administration at the city to not do more. I think it has to do with capabilities and what they can and can't do. The unfortunate part is the city has revenue issues. They don't bring in the revenue that we need to provide the service that the public needs. We went through a recession, so there was a lot of things got put on hold, like we did in our own personal lives. And now, as the city's trying to catch up, they're finding it hard to get there, right? So we're still operating with some equipment that needs to be replaced, but they just don't have the ability to do it yet.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the money and the officers' pay. I know that's a big concern of yours. You talked about it in an article in the Fresno Bee. So the starting salary is about $55,000. If you're a veteran officer, upwards of $100,000. Are you satisfied with this new 2-year contract? Got an 8% raise across the board for 2 years. That's, every officer got a raise, not 8%, but the veterans got a very big jump, but you're still behind Clovis.
Well, it's very important to myself and the officers to be paid at least comparable to our neighboring agencies. It's very important for recruitment and retention, right? So if you want to keep our officers here, you want them to stay here, then we need to make sure that we're at least compensating them in a manner that's going to keep them here. We don't, I mean, obviously we'd like to be the highest paid, but we know that's not going to happen in the state, but we should be, in my opinion, the highest paid agency in the Central Valley. We're obviously the largest. We're the 5th largest city in the state. And, if we're going to recruit and bring people here, because you're going to work harder here. There's no arguing that. You're going to work harder here than anywhere else in the Central Valley. Then you're going to have to compensate them as such. Otherwise, they're going to go someplace else. Yeah.
All right. You told the Fresno Bee, and I'm kind of quoting, but kind of paraphrasing. Actually, you told them that certainly the city of Fresno rivals those bigger cities known for high crime, like Oakland, maybe Sacramento, maybe the Bay Area, maybe some parts of Southern California. What do you mean by that?
Well, our call loads are as busy as those larger agencies. I don't know if the general public knows how busy the Fresno Police Department is with calls for service, but we rival any of those larger agencies. And right now, our crime rates show that. As far as our violent crime, our homicide rates are up. We're way higher than we were last year. Last time I looked, I think we had more homicides than Oakland. That's a problem.
Yeah, we have 42 or 43 homicides right now, and last year at the same time we only had 21 for the year 2016 up to this point. So we're basically more than double the number of homicides at the same time last year, and that's a concern. So you get a lot of calls. There's a lot of violent crime. Although violent crime overall is down 8.4%. Also, rape is down, robbery's down. Aggravated assault is down. There are certain parts of the city, though, that have a high crime rate. We know Southwest does, Southeast does. However, with the homeless issue, of course, there are crimes happening all over the city. So the number of calls is what you're concerned about? Well, because you don't have enough officers?
It's about workload. Can they get to the calls in a timely fashion? We know through talking with business owners and people in the community that for certain type of crimes, they don't call anymore because they're told to file it online, or, hey, we'll be there in 10, 12 hours. Or you may not get a call. Maybe you get a cadet, but you're not going to get an officer.
Right, like a break-in or a robbery or something like that of a business.
Yeah, like a break-in. A burglary, you're probably going to get a response, but if it's just a minor theft or a vandalism or, a burglary to your vehicle, the response time is going to be pretty extensive.
What will officers respond to? Of violent crime, obviously, and that goes without saying, but anything short of that, what will they respond to?
Well, there's a system that gives a numbering system. Okay. Zero being the highest priority, and in progress crime, a violent crime.
So zero is the highest.
It's highest. 1, and then and that's the 1 has just occurred, right? And still again a very serious crime. And then you have your 2s, 3s, and 4s, right? And your 2s are usually cold crimes, like a burglary that occurs.
So a 0 would be what? Homicide,
a homicide,
a
shooting, an assault, a domestic violence in progress, things like that.
Yeah, things like that. And a 1 would be what?
Say domestic violence that already occurred, suspect has left, and so you go in to take the report, some sort of an assault report, where the assault is no longer ongoing, the situation is not ongoing, it's stabilized, but it's still a serious crime, needs to be documented.
Before we go to break, have you researched at all how many calls on average you guys get a day?
You know, I have, but I don't have that off the top of my head. I didn't
Just
bring it with me.
roughly speaking, not an exact figure. Is it 1,000? Is it 500?
It's more than 1,000 a day.
It's more than 1,000 calls a day.
Yes.
Okay, and
that's everything. That goes everything from
Right.
the vandalism up to any kind of violent crime. So it's not just.
How does that compare to the rest of the state?
We're up there with the busier agencies, the Oaklands, the Los Angeles, those types.
San Francisco, Sacramento, all the bigger cities. So you're right up there with the same type of calls and the number of calls.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Damon Kurtz is here, and I'm glad he's here. 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back in just a moment with our guest. He is the president of the Fresno Police Officers Association. Back in just a moment. Free to call in. Got an open line.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator. Quality appliances for the way you live. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise. The new Frigidaire Professional line at Ventura TV Video Appliance. Enjoy generous-sized cooktops and saute or simmer with ease, while true convection ovens offer even baking and juicy roasting perfection. Foods stay their freshest in spacious refrigerators with convenient controls and clear filtered ice and water. Easy to clean surfaces reduce fingerprints, and the quietest of dishwashers makes cleanup a snap. The new Frigidaire Professional line at Ventura TV Video Appliance.
Back here with more of Damon Kurtz. He's the president of the Fresno Police Officers Association. And Damon, I want to ask you something here. I don't want to roll a piece of videotape with no sound. We'll talk over it. It's called Arrest 1. Go ahead and roll it. This is the Fresno Police Department in action, and Fresno PD was actually praised across the board for the handling of how they dealt with some of these protesters last year at Donald Trump. How do you think overall the Fresno Police Department is perceived now by the public? Is it much better than it has been in recent years, or is it about the same, or is it escalated slightly because of some of the shootings that have taken place? Freddie Centano, for example, Dylan Noble. We'll get into those later on, but I want to talk about the perception of Fresno police in your eyes.
Well, in general, I think the general public has a high regard for the police department and respect for us. The people I speak to when I'm out and about all seem to be have a lot of praise for the organization. With any organization, there are issues, and I think we all know that. Particularly right now with the national monologue, if you will, of anti-police, that all police agencies have rampant brutality and corruption, which is not the case. And it's not the case here either, even though it's easy. And if you cherry pick the right people, you can make it sound like the public doesn't support us, but I don't believe that's the case. Not in the people I'm speaking with.
Well, I want to specifically go to the NFL protest, of course, and the police department here praised last year Jerry Dyer for keeping the peace after this I don't know if you want to call it gigantic demonstration in front of Selland Arena, right in front of the church, the Armenian church there. Gained high praise from everybody for being able to keep things under control, but there were other agencies out there as well.
Well, I think it's a delicate matter, and every community is a little bit different. And how you can handle that, and some obviously we know tend to be a little more forceful in their demonstrations, and we were able to through different tactics make sure that didn't happen, and keep the two sides segregated so that the violence didn't occur. So
in the past, we've seen demonstrations like Black Lives Matter. We've seen demonstrations like this last year when Donald Trump was in. Would the city of Fresno, would the police department, in your estimation, I mean, you know the department inside and out, you know the rank and file. There are other agencies that often you guys combine the workforce with Clovis PD and other agencies, the CHP, the Sheriff's Department, obviously you guys work closely together. Would the city of Fresno be able to handle a large demonstration like what we've seen in other big cities like LA, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., recently we saw this huge demonstration in Boston, and the police there, the commissioner was praised for being able to keep the peace. There were hundreds of thousands of people in the streets. Would Fresno be able to handle something like that?
It would be difficult. We definitely would have to call in other resources, but Fresno Police Department by itself, no. That we don't have the resources to handle such a size demonstration.
But with other agencies, you'd be able to do quite well.
I believe we'd do okay. You know, we have a lot of good officers in this area, and with proper planning, we'd probably handle it very well.
Yeah. Talk about the preparedness of something like that. What does the police department do, or other agencies, to prepare for a possible demonstration like that?
Well, usually,
is there constantly ongoing preparation for an event such as, say, a large demonstration?
Sure. There's our mobile field force, which are the folks you see in the riot gear, things like that, in case things go bad. But there's all the stuff that goes behind the scenes, and that's communicating with the organizers of the event, and making sure that they understand that we want them to have their First Amendment rights. We want them to have the ability to go out and demonstrate, but do it in a peaceful manner. To work with them to make sure it is a peaceful protest, you know.
Right.
So that, you know, that help them educate their constituents that are there to protest, to do it in a safe manner so that we don't have to take any action. And that's kind of worked for us as far as trying to work with them and help them have their event, but have it in a safe manner and in a way that doesn't, you know, affect public safety.
But Fresno PD is always planning behind the scenes for anything of this magnitude, right?
Yes.
And it's not publicized. You
No.
guys just plan for it. The chief plans that, or?
Well, the department, the chief, you know, they will have certain types of training. Obviously, because of the civil unrest, if you will, there's probably an escalated need for it. But you know, I've been in law enforcement for 23 years, and over the years I've had several different trainings on crowd control, right? It's something that you go through in the academy. It's something that it's always there. There's a base knowledge of it, and there's refreshers. We call perishable skills. We're constantly being trained on different situations throughout the year that you may or may not see, but you want to make sure that you're prepared, that every officer's prepared.
I'm going to circle back on a lot of these topics here, but I want to get to what's going on in the National Football League. Being a peace officer, a Fresno PD member, and a member of the Fresno Police Officers Association, how do you feel about what's going on? Because this all started a year ago with Colin Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. He was one guy in the entire National Football League that either took a knee or sat down during the national anthem. Now, as you saw last night, Dallas and Arizona played down in Arizona, and the entire Dallas football team, including their owner, took a knee before the national anthem. They all stood in unison, though, as the anthem was being played. But how do you feel about what happened this past weekend and what's going on now?
Well, from my perspective, as a police officer and prior military, the flag means something different to me, and you know, I can't change perceptions of certain individuals, and if they believe what they're going to believe. I don't believe that's the right mechanism to do so. I don't think that disrespecting those persons who have served, or the flag in general and what it stands for, that's the way to go about it. If they have something that most of us don't have, they have fame, and they have the ability to get that word out in another way.
How would that way be? What would you suggest?
Well, their persona, as far as particularly those higher profile players, could come together and you know, do shows like this. They could do public service announcements. They could have press conferences. The problem I guess I have with it a little bit is I've been in the military, and then I've been as a police officer my entire life. I've served the public my entire life, and in a way it seems a little disrespectful. And to blanket the entire profession with basically the accusations that were made, and then using the flag to do so, seems a little disrespectful. And and the other part of it is you represent that team. You're not representing yourself and your own personal beliefs. Now, when you're wearing the uniform, you represent that organization, and so you're just saying by doing that, you're basically saying this entire organization feels that way. I don't know if that's 100% true. I can't go out as a police officer and bring up my personal beliefs while I'm wearing uniform in public. I'm held to a different standard because I'm wearing that uniform. Now, if I want to go out on my own and do that, then that's my First Amendment rights.
So you're saying these NFL players should go outside the realm of the NFL and show their protest against whatever they're protesting. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Okay, not do it during the game while they're employed by either Dallas or San Francisco or the Oakland Raiders. Okay. Caller, you're on the air with Damon Kurtz. Go ahead. What say you?
Yeah, I'm a former military member, and I spent 3 tours in Afghanistan, and I don't agree with Mr. Kurtz there. I had a colonel there who told us that, he showed us the flag, and he said, we don't fight for the flag. The flag is a symbol, just like the national anthem is a symbol. What we fight for are the people of the United States of America. They're the ones that make the nation great, not the flag, not the national anthem, but the people who make up the United States of America. Those are the people that we fight for. And so in terms of me referring to the NFL, I think what they do is actually a celebration of the fact that we have a Constitution that, as a military person, I fought for it and defended for, and the fact that they're using it to speak out and say there are some indifferences in this nation that we need to fix, I think is a good thing. I think I don't want to respect a flag that is racist or that shows economic or racial indifference. I would never fight for a flag that shows that. You had a president who said that there were great people on the side of those anti-Semites and so forth. I would never, to me as a military person, I felt totally ashamed of my president saying that there were good people on that side, because I fought for this country. And for him to say that there are good people on the side of the anti-Semites and the Nazis and the white supremacists, I was saying to myself, is that what I fought for? Is that what my American flag means and stands for?
Okay.
But it doesn't. It
All right.
stands for the people of this nation and the Constitution that we defend. And that's what we take the oath. If Mr. Kurtz remembers, when he took his oath to go into the military, he said that we will defend the Constitution of the United States, if he remembers that correctly. The Constitution of the United States. And that means everything that makes up that Constitution, including freedom of expression and the First Amendment. So I think that Mr. Kurtz has to understand that military people, we are not the only heroes in this, in this world, or for the United States. There are teachers who are heroes. There are people who, any person that my colonel said, any person who works to make America better is a hero. And yet you always hear the American flag put with military personnel, and of course, no one's going to say that military is bad. But what about the other, 60 million people that make up, the United States? They're
Okay.
heroes too.
Got you covered. Thank you for the call. That was an excellent call, but I'm going to give Damon a chance to respond, and you have your own view about that.
Sure.
Go ahead, Damon.
Well, I don't disagree what he was saying, that the flag and about the flag and that
Right.
we defend the Constitution. That's absolutely true. What I said was that I just don't believe they should do it in uniform. And if the caller was still on, you couldn't do it when you're in the military uniform. You kind of give up that right to a certain extent while you're wearing the uniform. I give up my First Amendment right while I'm wearing my uniform because I represent the organization and not my personal beliefs. So you have the right to go out and protest. You have the right to bring light to a subject, and you can do that, especially with those individuals there. They're famous. The cameras are going to show up when they call it. But my belief is that while you're in uniform and while you're representing an entire organization, that unless that organization says this is what we're going to do as an entire organization to a member, then you do it on your own. You don't do it representing that organization.
All right. We're going to debate this more on Friday because we're going to have a couple of special guests in. But I do want to say this in closing on this topic here as we go to break. I think this is about a couple of different things, and food for thought here as we enter into the rest of the week here. And that is, number one, Colin Kaepernick wasn't protesting the anthem. He wasn't protesting the flag. He wasn't protesting the military. I think what he was actually protesting, if you go back and listen to his interview when he was still playing with the 49ers, he stood up there at the podium, you recall, he was saying he is protesting police brutality against African Americans. That's what he was upset about, so he decided to take a knee. Also keep in mind, you have the National Football League. that's comprised of a number of billionaire owners. They don't like to be told what to do. They're very competitive. You have the players. They're millionaires as well. They're used to being competitive. They're used to going on the field. There's an opponent. Let's take him out. They don't like being told what to do. So when the president came out on Friday and told them, you shouldn't take a knee, you know, the owners and the players took that as a, as a competitive challenge, so to speak. Would you agree with that, kind of? It's like a challenge. Don't challenge us. So it's kind of, it's kind of fits into that arena a little bit. Would you agree with that quickly?
Probably a little bit, yeah. I imagine that comes into play.
There are a whole number of factors. I mean, this could have been the National Football League players and owners versus Donald Trump, not necessarily against the flag or the anthem or a number of other things. So 436 MeTV option 11, a lot to talk about going on right here in the city of Fresno with the police department. They need new cars, maybe a new building. They need a lot of stuff. Back in just a moment.
The following is a list of celebrities you will not see on MeTV programs. Charlie Sheen, Lindsay Lohan, Snooki, Paris Hilton, Perez Hilton, Honey Boo Boo, Justin Bieber, Simon Cowell, Chris Brown, Miley Cyrus, and the Real Housewives of any place. This is who you will see on MeTV programs. Lucy, Ralph, Mary, Perry, Gilligan, Kenneth, Spock, Batman, Rowdy, Festus, and the Beaver. MeTV. Thanks for watching.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on the program, 436 MeTV option 11, another call coming in, and I hope this is not about the flag incident because we're kind of done talking about that topic. We have a lot to get to here with the police department. Damon Kurtz is here. I'll take the call very quickly here. Caller, what's your question? I hope it's not about the flag.
No, it's just that I think you got it wrong there, John, about the NFL, and that is that I don't think anybody likes being called an SOB.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because they voice their opinion.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure you as a journalist wouldn't like being called an SOB if you said you reported something and the president didn't like it and he called you an SOB for reporting it.
But that's exactly what I said.
That's really the thing.
But caller, that's exactly what I said. The players and the owners don't like being called out by the president.
No, you said they don't like being challenged. And it's not a challenge.
Right.
It's being called a son of a bitch. And no one likes being called that, for just expressing their opinion. Nobody likes being called that. Nobody does. It's not a challenge. Nobody likes being called that.
Okay.
But anyway, the police department.
Okay.
Are you guys planning on filling those vacancies that are not filled right now? I mean, is the city planning on doing that?
They're trying. We're pretty close to what our
Thanks,
current
caller.
Staffing.
I appreciate it.
So they're trying. They're trying to fill those positions. Our current staffing levels call to get us to 825 by next July, and I think we'll get close to that. Keep in mind that pre-recession levels we were at highest 849, and so we're still trying to get there.
And I do want to roll a videotape. It's called Fresno Police Training. So how much? Here's the thing. We hear about police shootings. We hear about how much training does the department give these officers? We're looking at some training video here with the Fresno PD. Do you go daily? Do you go weekly? Do you go monthly in terms of firing your weapons, being active, staying sharp? How often?
So, every officer goes through a 6-month academy before they become a police officer.
Right. And that's what this is, part of the 6-month academy.
Yeah, so you go through the 6-month academy, which is pretty much every day, 5 days a week.
Okay.
Training, and then once you complete that, you'll come and you'll go to a field training program where you ride with a number of different officers who train you on the day-to-day operations.
Right.
That takes anywhere from a minimum of 16 weeks. Some would take longer, depending on your aptitude for what's going on. And then after that, once you're released, you're going to continue to learn, and you'll have yearly trainings and then quarterly trainings, things like that.
But as an active police officer on the street, how often do you go to the range?
You have mandatory once per quarter.
Once per quarter.
Right.
Okay, so is that often enough, do you think? Or
Well, probably
should it be
not.
more?
It probably should be more, but it comes down again dollars, right? Shooting
And
ammunition
timing?
and time. All of that. Man hours cost money and equipment costs money, right? So bullets cost money to go out there and shoot, and it can be in an organization our size. That's a lot. It can be quite costly.
Police Chief Jerry Dyer, I think we have a picture of Jerry Dyer. He told the Fresno Bee that he wanted the public to know that the department has never cut its training budget. Even in the heart of the recession, all of his officers receive a minimum of 60 to 100 hours per year of training. Is that still true?
Yes.
So that's happening now.
Yes.
Okay. Also, the chief said he was confident, and are you confident? You're on the force now, 772, and I think you kind of answered the question. By next year, you want to be up to 825?
I believe that's the number by next July, the
Is
fiscal
that
year.
realistic with what's going on in the budget?
I do believe it's realistic. I think the budget is getting better, right? Keep in mind we're still kind of recovering. I think the mayor has a good vision for the city of Fresno as far as trying to bring economic development. But the Fresno's budget probably could use a little help when it comes to public safety.
Yeah. All right, talk about headquarters now, because headquarters, ever since I got to Fresno, that's been police headquarters, where it's
Right.
located now in downtown Fresno, not too far from the courthouse, right there on M Street, I believe it is. It's M, right?
Yes.
M Street.
It's basically M in Fresno.
M and Fresno Street. So it's been there forever. It's decaying. It has asbestos. It's run down to a certain extent. What would be the cost to replace that building?
I wouldn't be able to
Millions
tell you.
of dollars.
Millions. Yeah,
let's
definitely
just
in the
safe
millions.
to assume it would cost millions.
Yeah, I would say tens
What
of millions.
is there a realistic possibility that a new building could actually be erected for the police department?
In the same location?
Maybe the same location, maybe a different location. I don't know.
I don't believe it's in the near future. I don't think
It's-
it's even in the plans right now.
It's not in the plans. And
No.
why is that important to Fresno PD to have a new building?
Well, I think it would be important from a perspective to stay relevant as far as equipment and technology, but also it's important when your working conditions. You have people in that building, and although we believe they're not being exposed to asbestos, we know that they're surrounded by asbestos in that building. They've done their best to seal it, and hopefully that's the case. But I think in the back of your mind while you're there, you always wonder: is it truly?
Am I
sealed?
breathing it?
Am I breathing it?
Is it in my lungs?
Because right now any kind of construction or remodeling of that building takes. You have to have special people come in to make sure you're not disturbing any of the asbestos to do so. So
Right. And so do a lot of officers consider that a health hazard to go into that building?
I don't know that they consider it a health hazard, but I think that most that know of it, I mean, I'm sure that it's something you think about from time to time. I don't know that they, lie awake at night about it, but it's there.
All right. How about the radio system now? The $30 million fix I said in the monologue to replace the radios. Is that anywhere on the horizon to be able to do that?
Well, I believe they're trying to work on that. The problem with the radio system is it's old and it's starting to fail. And
hang on, caller.
And
Go ahead.
the reality is there's places in the city that our radios don't work.
Such as?
There's places in Northwest Fresno and other areas just that the radio towers just for whatever reason
don't carry.
Atmospheric conditions that you can't speak to other officers or to dispatch. They can't hear you. And
So
that's,
it's like a cell phone. You have dead zones, a
yes,
dead spot.
and we have dead spots in the city.
So Northwest Fresno there are a few dead spots over there.
When you
How
get
about
close,
Northeast?
I don't know the exact areas. There's different places, and depending on the atmospheric conditions, it can change. But the bottom line is the system's so old that it's time to start replacing it.
Can you do it without a $30 million fix, or does it have to be upwards of $30 million? Can you do it for less money?
I don't know that you can. I've seen the report. I don't know how you can piecemeal something together, nor should you. When it's a safety issue.
What's going to have to be replaced? The radios, the towers, what? Or all of the above?
It's the equipment and the towers, and then we haven't even talked about the radios. The radios would be an additional cost. The actual individual radios, if those were replaced as well. So.
Okay, and it's something that you do share with the Fresno Fire Department. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Yeah, and talking about the radio frequency.
So they have similar issues. So they have times when they're inside a home fighting a fire, they can't talk to the guys outside.
Yeah, and some of the motorcycles need to be replaced as well. Motorbikes.
All equipment wears out at some point, and if you hold on to it too long, eventually it just
Okay, you
it's
mentioned
wear and tear.
cars, the vehicles that have 200,000 miles. So of this laundry list that you have, you got an aging building that has asbestos. You have cars, the radio system, motorbikes. What would be the most realistic fix right now out of all those on the list?
Realistic or needed?
Both.
You know, I think that the most needed would be the radio system, because that's a direct correlation to the safety of our citizens and the officers and the firefighters. But realistically, the $29 to $30 million fix is not something the city has just laying around. So
most likely, what would get fixed first?
You know, that's hard to say. You know, and really, it
because everything costs money.
Well, and ultimately, it come down to the chief and how he does his budget and what the city is willing to or has the ability to.
And how he presents his budget to the council, right?
Yeah.
And you certainly have a voice in that. Am I right about that?
Oh yeah. So we do speak to our council members on a regular basis on these issues.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to take this call real quick because running short on time. Go ahead, caller, quickly.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, is the city planning on working with the county in terms of building that cooperative dispatch center that they were talking about a while back? Is that still in the works, or is that kind of falling the wayside as well?
As of right now, I believe that's not being discussed. You know, over the years, there have been several discussions on consolidation, but you know, the only places really that make sense to consolidate would be places like dispatch and a few other issues. And so far, to my knowledge, that there's been no discussion to make that a reality. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks, caller. I really appreciate it. Damon Kurtz is here. I got to take a break, and there's so much more to talk about here. You know, you got the homeless issue creating some havoc, and also we'll talk about the shootings, the controversial ones, the Centano, the Dylan Noble, and this and that. How that has affected the rank and file, such as yourself and maybe the chief. How has that affected overall members of the Fresno Police Department? Because it's not easy. When a police officer has to shoot someone, I'm sure. And we'll talk about the discipline, what happens to an officer. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back in just a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified #1 rated high-efficiency Cabrio from Whirlpool Place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Whirlpool Cabrio laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Back here on the show, Damon Kurtz, president of the Fresno Police Officers Association. Let's put up a picture of Mayor Lee Brand. Before I get into my next topic and video, Lee Brand, does he support the Fresno Police Department? Are you getting his full support?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
So Lee was a council member for 8 years, and so we had a relationship there. Not always good, but you know, like any council member, you know, you're going to have disagreements. But overall, I think he's very supportive of the police department and is trying to do better for the organization.
Right. Okay, next topic is some of the controversial shootings, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, by the way, because we kind of discussed this yesterday. Didn't want to throw any curveballs at you here, and wanted you to be fully aware of what we're talking about in all of our topics. But there is a television network out of Washington, D.C., also has bureaus in New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. This is sponsored by the Russian government. What's the television network called? It's called RT America, based out of Washington, D.C. So they sent a reporter here to Fresno to talk about police brutality, police corruption. The piece that we're running now is Freddie Centano. He's a young man who was shot by police, as you know, not too long ago. In April, this reporter came out and did the story. They're the 2 most controversial shootings, I think, in recent memory. It's Freddie Centano and Dylan Noble. Here is the report from RT America, a television network that's owned, sponsored by Moscow. Yes, that Moscow, Russia. Check it out.
Fresno, California, repeated cases of police brutality and corruption have plagued the police department. RT spoke to members of a family belonging to Freddie Centeno, an unarmed mentally disabled man who died after an altercation with 2 officers of Fresno PD on September 3rd, 2015. RT's Nicholas Sanchez O'Donovan brings us the story.
September 3rd, 2015 was a day that Rogelio Centeno will never forget. His younger brother, Freddie, was shot by 2 police officers from the Fresno Police Department just after he enjoyed a family breakfast at home.
He went, took a walk, about 10:30. About 10 minutes later, we heard some gunshots. And my mother automatically thought that, oh, what happened? Maybe it was your brother. So, no, Mom. No, it's not my brother. But 5 minutes later, one of my cousins came to our house and told us the news that my brother had gotten shot by the Fresno police.
That morning, Freddie Centeno, who was mentally disabled, started behaving erratically, telling neighbours he was an FBI agent. There were complaints and 911 calls. Then the police arrived and this happened.
And within 8 seconds, they shot my brother. They shot him 9 times. And 3 of those bullets hit my brother in the back. And it was horrific.
We requested an interview with the Fresno Police Department, but it was declined. However, in an earlier press conference, Chief Jerry Dyer defended his officers.
Both of these officers felt threatened. They feared for their safety. They feared for the safety of their partner. And they felt that they were about ready to be shot.
A full investigation was opened and both officers involved were cleared. But the Centeno family doesn't feel that justice has been served.
At the end of the investigation, they concluded that it was justified. But who did the investigation? It was Fresno's own Fresno Police Internal Affairs, which is basically the Fresno Police.
And then there's other cases, such as the one involving Deputy Police Chief Keith Foster, arrested for his involvement in a heroin-dealing conspiracy and facing up to 20 years in prison. The list goes on and on. Repeated allegations of corruption, abuse or discrimination have led many Fresno citizens not to trust their police department. It's now those same citizens that are demanding changes.
Honestly, the first thing that needs to happen is Chief Dyer needs to be fired. We need a new leader to come in and then start from the top to the bottom.
So Fresno has a really long history of systematic abuse as well as oppression. So the police officers in our community kind of uphold that energy.
The debate for deep changes within the Fresno Police Department is wide open in a city that has been hit hard in its pride and its confidence. As for Rogelio Centeno, he will continue his fight for justice, never forgetting the sound of the bullets that killed his younger brother, Freddie.
All right, that report done by RT America. It is a television network. They have a Washington bureau, but based and owned by Moscow, Russia. And so they report, they do various daily reports for Moscow television, but they sent a reporter out here to Fresno to talk about all these, not to put you on the spot here. That's not my intention here, Damon, but just to have a conversation about what you saw in that report. So you got the Freddie Centeno shooting, you got Dylan Noble. It's created a lot of controversy. And then on top of that, you got Keith Foster, the deputy chief, caught in this sting, this drug sting, and by the feds. Now he's going to be sentenced, I guess, next month sometime. Don't know exactly when. So he could get a lot of time behind bars. So just having a conversation here without pointing any fingers, how do you feel about what's going on? And also your comments about that report there from that journalist who came in from the East Coast.
So a couple things. One, I didn't know Moscow had any interest in Fresno.
Okay.
But he, we'll start with the Keith Foster incident. I think it's always embarrassing for any organization when someone does something like that and disappoints you. But I think what that shows is that the system does work. No matter your rank, is you will be held accountable for your actions, and he's being held accountable. Yeah. So I think it's important for the public to recognize that. when it comes to the shootings, and I won't speak to specifics on those because there are still ongoing investigations. There's
litigation.
There's still litigation going on. So, but the general public typically are seeing a video now with body cameras, right? And they're making an assumption based on a limited amount of information. It's still a two-dimensional form of video, right?
Yeah.
They don't have the totality of circumstances, what the officers knew before they got there, what they were being told was happening when they get there, what may or may not have escalated the situation. Did it look like he had a weapon or not have a weapon? What was the officer's perception? Now, it's easy for us to sit on our couches and watch it and go, oh, I would have done that differently.
Is the police officer body cam the final word?
It is not. It's just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
Right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's only a two-dimensional piece of information. That's
gotcha.
You take that and what you're seeing on the body cam and you put it together with all the information that from what was being dispatched, what the person who called 911 said, what the officers are being told, what their training and experience is, and what their perception as well. What did the officer perceive? Not just what you saw on TV, but what did the officer perceive, and what would a reasonable officer in the same situation do in that situation? And that's kind of how things progress through this investigation, and how the conclusion comes to.
Yeah.
And the other part of it spoke to that only the police department did the investigation, and that's just not true. That the DA's office looks at it, and if there's a grand jury, there's a number of different people that look at that. It's very scrutinized.
There are a lot of outside agencies.
A lot of
that
outside
look
agencies.
at it.
There's a lot of scrutiny when it comes into an officer-involved shooting.
How does it affect you as a police officer and the rank and file when you hear comments what we did in some of the videos, like the chief should be fired, there's police corruption and this and that? Does that hurt morale?
I think at times it does, particularly over the last few years. It kind of feels like we're
beating your head against the wall.
Well, no, it feels like we're under attack.
Oh, okay.
It feels like that you can't do anything right at this point as a profession. Or
in other words, you can't do what you were trained to do.
Right.
Right. And what were you trained to do?
Well, it's uphold the law and and keep people safe. At the same time, keep ourselves safe. Right. We have families. We live in the community. We care about the community as well, and we have children that are going to schools there. So it's not like that these officers want to do that and get into a situation where that causes this type of notoriety, because their kids and their family have to go through it too. They're people.
Yeah. And I didn't expect you to comment on any individual case because there is ongoing litigation in a lot of these cases, but just wanted to get an overall general feeling how the department rank and file, how are they holding up? Okay.
I think they're doing well. So.
And you cheer them on, I assume?
No, absolutely. And we try to be their advocate, and talk about the good things that we do. The media so often wants to talk about the bad things or when someone makes a mistake, but they just overlook the overall good that law enforcement does as a profession across the nation. Overall, it's very good. Are there mistakes that made with any profession? Absolutely. But if you only highlight the mistakes, you overlook the good.
Now, when a police officer does get involved in an officer-involved shooting, what happens to that officer immediately after?
They're sent on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation.
Okay.
That's kind of
that could
standard.
take how long? Months?
Well, it as far as whether or not they're come back to work, it's usually within the next week. But the investigation itself could take months. Yes.
All right. Caller, quickly, short on time. What's your question?
Well, it ain't so much a question, it's a comment.
Okay.
I feel sorry for half the police officers in Fresno because it only takes one or two to give the others a bad name, and I feel sorry for y'all.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the call.
I thank y'all for y'all's service.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that call. That was a
Thank
good
you.
call.
Yeah,
good
thank
call
you.
in your favor. So I want to move on to the next topic, and that is the mayor just recently hired a new police auditor. His name's John Gliotta. He made the announcement. Mayor Brand didn't check with anybody. It was a campaign promise. He said he was going to do this independently. And I want to roll the videotape with sound. It's called Mayor Hires an Independent Police Auditor. And I want you to comment on this, a piece that we took off Channel 47. And it's basically the hiring of John Gliotta. Take a look.
Matters now. The mayor of Fresno bridging the gap between the community and the Fresno Police Department. KC24's Gregory Woods joining us now. So, Greg, not only did he announce the hire for the Office of Independent Review, he is also announcing who is on this newly formed Public Safety Advisory Board.
That is absolutely correct. The Office of Independent Review used to be out of state, but now the new hire not only lives in the city and works more closely with the community and the department, but he will also work with the department. We would also work with the Public Safety Advisory Board.
Please welcome our new independent police reviewer, John Gliata.
This is the man tasked with the job to hold officers accountable and help build trust with the community. He only answers to the mayor and city manager.
They are not coaching me or telling me what's hands off or make sure that you don't touch this area here or answer it in this fashion because we want to make sure that they're happy. They haven't said that at all. So, and that's one of the things that intrigued me about this position.
Gliata will use his 30 years of law enforcement experience to review officer-involved shootings and community complaints. The mayor says he comes with an impressive resume, a veteran of the FBI offices in Sacramento and Washington, where he helped handle internal affairs, including officer-involved shootings. Gliata says he'll have an open-door policy when it comes to public transparency.
If you have an issue, feel free to come forward, and we're going to be very receptive to that.
Gliata will also work with the Public Safety Advisory Board. It's 9 community members from every district in the city who represents their neighborhood.
It's my ethnic group that sometimes, they have concerns, and I could be the voice and bring back and inform them.
I really respect the fact that Fresno is being progressive and, having this advisory board, especially when you see policing and communities kind of at odds with one another.
Gliata hopes to fix that with the help of police, the advisory board, and the community.
I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make enemies. I'm just here to do what's right.
And Fresno Police Chief Jerry Dyer is not in town today, so he was not able to comment on the mayor's announcement. The president of the Fresno Police Association, Damon Kurtz, says they had some concerns at first, but they're in support of the mayor's effort. Reporting in the studio, Gregory Woods, KC24 Local News. That matters.
Greg.
So, John Gliata, good hire. You have a 9-member board, too. Citizens will make up part of this board here, and they will overlook part of what's going on in the Fresno Police Department and other areas, too. But John Gliata is the main police auditor, lives here full-time, will oversee the department full-time. Good hire?
Yeah, I believe so. He seems like a good individual, and I think he'll be very objective.
Yeah, how well do you know him?
I don't know him very well. I met him through this process. So I know he's been in the area and with the FBI and also with the Sheriff's Department doing some crime analyst stuff. But he's been around, but I personally haven't met him until now.
And you support the mayor on this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Caller, we're very short on time. Got about a minute and a half left. Quickly. It's got to be quick.
Is there any chance that Jerry Dyer is going to finally retire? I mean, I would like to have a new chief that I respect because he's done shady things as Trump. That's my call.
Okay. Well, I think the chief, I can't speak for the chief, so I don't know.
I don't know either. I know that, he is coming to the end of his tenure at some point. It's probably in the next couple of years. When that day is, only the chief and the mayor know, and we'll leave that up to them.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, what would you like? We got a couple of minutes left. What would you like people to know? I'm going to give you 2 minutes here to tell the people. Go ahead and look in that camera there, and tell them what you'd like them to know about the police department. That maybe they have the wrong perception, maybe something they don't know about the department.
What I'd like the general public to know is that the men and women, the police officers that work for the city of Fresno, the Fresno PD, they care about the community. They want to do a good job. In some cases, we just don't have the resources to do the job we want to do. Lee Brand speaks of 1,000 officers. I believe that's something that the city needs.
An attainable goal?
Now that's the question. Is it attainable? But I do believe that we need those 1,000 officers to be responsive to this community, to really have community-based policing where you have relationships with your police department, not just with your department as a whole, but with individual officers as a community, so you know who your officer is. But in order to get that, they're going to have additional officers and resources to do that and affect crime in a way you can't just come from the top down. We've got to start at the bottom as well and get into the communities and change the way
gain the trust of
the public and change the culture as well, as far as that crime isn't the culture and that it's not, and that's going to take time, but it's also going to take a lot of resources. And so we as a community have to figure out how we're going to get there and what are we willing to pay for when it comes to our public safety.
Hey, you're a friend of this program. You're welcome here anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
All right. Damon Kurtz, I appreciate you taking time to come by and talk to us today. He is the president of the Fresno Police Officers Association. We're glad he took the time out of his day to come by and speak with us. Back tomorrow with another edition of Connect with Me. It's going to be Temperance Flat tomorrow. We can talk about that. Have a good day.